Welcome to the All In Podcast, the show that explores how the top real estate entrepreneurs have gone all in on their businesses. I'm your host, David Morse, with my co-host, Joe Quattrucci, and I invite you to come along with us as we explore the stories of the most elite professionals in the game today to learn how they went all in and how you and I can do the same. So I just have to ask, are you all in? Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast. We are excited for today. As you know, I'm your host, David Morse, team leader at Keller Williams Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm with my host, as always, good friend Joe Q, with some horses in the background today.
We've got some horses in the background. We're going to do this on the go today. It's going to be a great show anyway.
Joe, where are you at today?
I'm making my way from Las Vegas back down to Phoenix, Arizona. Up here for some real estate training and some networking and doing some different things, and on my way back down to the hub.
Love it. Well, thank you for still making yourself available, and some good things happening there in Vegas. Guys, today on our show we have Jordan Pyle, one of NAR's newest inductees into the 30 under 30. I'm excited to introduce you to Jordan. Jordan, how's it going, man?
Doing well. How are you guys? Thank you so much for allowing me to be on the podcast. It's an honor, and I'm super excited for our convo today.
Cool. Well, now that you are a featured celebrity in the NAR world, I know everyone knows about you already. However, tell us a little bit. Who are you? What's your business? How'd you get into real estate?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. No, so I think what's helpful and what's valuable to a lot of people who might be listening, I'm sure you have a lot of real estate agents. I know that I kind of went to sources like this to make sure that I was growing in my business. I think you can learn so much from the path that other people have taken. So I want to start by saying Jordan Pyle. I'm in Chicago, Illinois. Downtown in the city is my primary market. I'm out of the Lincoln Park office. From a production standpoint, did about just a little shy of 10 million last year, about 25 sale transactions with an additional 12 rentals, so about 36 total transactions. From Fort Wayne, Indiana. So I moved here right out of college and was one of those crazy guys to get into the business right out of the gate. So age 22, started here with no network really outside of a few of my fraternity brothers that were moving back here after I went to Indiana University. And then really had no network, no sense of real estate. I didn't study real estate, but I found my real estate agent who helped me find my rental. And him and somebody that was affiliated with him pitched me about the real estate industry as a career, right? And definitely fell for it. Fell for the fact that it's flexible, you can make a ton of money, do everything on your own schedule. And I think all of us know that are in real estate that is not the case at all. So
yeah. Let me jump in right there because I call it, Joe knows this, I call it the 3 F words of real estate, right? Everyone comes in wanting freedom, flexibility, and financial opportunity. And the reality is, to your point, you don't get any of that unless you approach this as the most inflexible, with the least freedom, and are willing to not make money for a while, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's good you say that too, because it actually took me, starting out as 22, 23, it took me about 14 months until I actually made my first sale.
14 months? 14
months, yeah. So I was doing rentals to supplement my lifestyle, and I'm so grateful, that I had some parents that were willing to help out for a little bit as well. And eventually that cut off and kind of was on my own. But yeah, it was kind of the school of hard knocks. Just, I think the success that I've had to this point, I've been now in the business, this is my 7th year. And I think it was just failing forward constantly, getting 1% better every single day, putting myself in uncomfortable situations and learning from those failures to, essentially get the lessons out of them. And I've just stacked those up, day after day, month after month, year after year. And that has led me to, having a real confidence in where I kind of am positioned and feeling that I have a really nice foundation as you mentioned 30 under 30. I just made the cut because I'm turning 30 next month. So
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I actually started looking into the rules and the cutoffs and everything because I'm 30. Joe's 30 now. I'm like, shoot, did we miss the cutoff?
I think we're too late. Yeah,
we're gonna be in the 31 under 31. Like we got that. But dude, I want to dive into let's dive into those first 14 months, right? Because some of our listeners are new in the business, and I know that even we have about 350 agents at my office, and a good 50 of them are probably in their first year, and I want you to talk a little bit about those first 14 months and what you felt and what you experienced and how you broke through and stuck with it.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think there's a few different sides to that. I think the thing that I've always known I was going to find success, right? And success is this elusive concept. It means something different to everybody, but I just knew I was going to figure it out. I was raised in a middle-class family, parents who were working hard from the day I can ever remember, putting in extra hours. So I carried that trait as well. I was willing to work hard. I was willing to do what other people weren't. So that was kind of it. In the beginning, like I said, I knew about 5 of my 22-year-old fraternity brothers and maybe their parents and a couple of their friends, but really had no network, right? So as I'm getting into this business, I'm trying to figure out how to get leads. And I know that leads are, a lot of people's biggest problem. And they were saying, work your database. And I was like, well, I don't have one of those. So basically I took that and I was like, okay, well, what can I do day in and day out to make sure that I'm building this database? So that was really where, literally everything I did, every single day, my goal was to, try to add 5 people into my database every single day, whether it be someone in my elevator building or in the elevator in my building, going to and from wherever I was going, walking up and down, the different shops in the area that I lived, and ultimately just being kind of reckless with it and just letting people know that I was in the business. Most people could tell that I was young. I have a baby face at age 29, almost 30. So you can only imagine at 22 what I looked like, but I let people know that I was willing to work hard. And if I didn't know something, I would go find the answer and I'd get back to them right away. And I followed up on that. So I think that was it. It was putting myself in uncomfortable situations, knowing that if I didn't have the answer, I could go and learn the lesson from that and ultimately fail forward to be better in that interaction the next time. So that's one thing. I think the next thing that I mentioned is just having a hyper focus on adding people to my database. I was cultivating people and putting them into lists from, kind of a weird thing to do, but now it has paid off 100%, going to LinkedIn, Facebook. And at the time I didn't know anything about friends lists, but I was just building Excel sheets of all the people I knew. And then it became my goal to figure out a way to get engagement with them and then get their phone numbers, get their email addresses. And so I just continued to build that day after day, month after month. And that was a big thing. And then I think that really the turning point, to answer the second part of your question, was I realized that there's a lot of people before me that have done what I was trying to do. So I resorted to podcasts like the All In podcast. I went all in on it. I went all in on books and personal development. And then the next thing was the whole idea about you are the average of 5 people to surround yourself with. So I sought out, and I was very intentional and purposeful about seeking out mentors. So I actually ended up going and partnering up with a guy, more working underneath him, just so that I was willing to call and hit the phones and go out to networking events and find people. But I wanted that little bit of confidence to, when I went on an appointment, to secure that listing or that buyer. So I would start bringing him with me. And then slowly but surely, it became, come with me, let's help secure it. We'll go 50-50. And then it was like, hey, I think I got this one. And then eventually I spread my wings, kind of went off on my own. And about 3 years into the business was where I really started to see kind of the trajectory. So I was just willing to play the long game and show up every single day. And I think that's something that you have to do in anything that you do. You just got to get 1% better every single day.
There's obviously a lot of really good stuff there. Let me unpack just a little bit about that. One of the big takeaways of what I heard you just say was you were very intentional adding people to your database. And you specifically said 5 people a day. And why that got me so excited is because I just launched a free mini course for real estate agents called 5 Your Way to 100K. And the whole idea is that if you're willing and able to meet 5 new people a day, strike up a conversation, ask some questions out of curiosity, capture some contact information and add them to your database, and then sequentially and systematically follow up with them, there's no reason why anybody cannot be making $100,000 or more in real estate. And Jordan, you're proof in the pudding, because you're in a brand new state that you don't have a sphere of influence in. You're just this young guy, and you started adding 5 people a day or more to your database, and now here you are.
Yeah, and now that, that is the one thing, my database, I'll put it up against anybody's today. It's that there's so much gold in there. Of course there's, I have about, 2,000, 2,500 people in there, but about 400 to 500 of those are like my raving fans, right? So
right.
In the beginning, it was just add people in, and then over time, I got a little bit more systematic and intentional about it.
And it boiled it down to 5. It boils it down to 5 people a day. That was your strategy.
And I love stripping things back like that. I think it'll probably come up numerous times in this conversation. It's just like, and KW is really where I started to really learn that. At the time, it's what I was told by somebody. I was like, okay, that sounds right, and that's what I need to do because I don't have any of this, So I was willing to listen to others. I was willing to do what people have done that have become successful. But yeah, I think, peeling back the onion and figuring out what is the smallest step on a daily basis you can do in anything that you do, whether it's in your business life, your personal, and any of your habits. I hope we can talk about some habits today because I'm huge on habits. I actually have Atomic Habits sitting right next to me here, which I think is
one
of the good one. Yeah.
There. But go ahead.
Before we go into the habits, Jordan, just I want to talk a little bit more about this whole idea of adding people to your database, because I think a lot of people get stuck in that idea. And so just give the listeners an idea of, you mentioned a few places, but where did you find a majority of these people to talk to? Like, where did you find them? And then what did that initial conversation look like? I think a lot of people get stuck in how do I approach people? And like, what do I say? So walk us through that just a little bit.
Yeah, mine mainly came from, like I said, daily interactions, people that I would talk to, let them know I was in real estate, give them a card and ask if I could exchange information and follow up, right? And it was more just, hey, I'm new to the industry, new to the city, looking to connect with different people. And if, at any point in time, there comes a need for you to buy or sell real estate or anyone that I would hope that you would give me the opportunity, right? That was just kind of cold people. My friends that I identified people that I knew that were living in Chicago. I was using LinkedIn. This was in like 2014, basically. And I was there's a little section on LinkedIn at the time that you could go and you could click like the contact info on their page. And a lot of times it was like their Facebook or whatever email address that was in there, right? So I started just adding emails. Today I should say that, some of those people probably did not give me permission, but, I was figuring it out and doing things as I wanted.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, exactly. And then networking events was huge for me. I was going out to literally just looking up what networking events were going on, finding ways to hang out in different areas that I wanted to sell real estate in. And then I also started doing like a lot of open houses, and I started helping a lot of other agents out, the top producers in my market, just saying, hey, I'm willing to work. I don't really want anything up front. I just want to get the experience. And then through those different interactions and helping those people out, I just continuously started adding people in. And then, the conversation was just essentially just letting them know. And then I would just follow up enough that eventually it would come back. So like literally just this week, somebody that I started connecting with that had a somewhat cold relationship 7 years ago when I got in this business, they just reached out and now they're looking to sell their place for $500,000 and buy for $1.5 million. So I've just been staying in front of these people. Now it's easier through Facebook and things like that to kind of just be top of mind. But I was just sending texts, calling people, sending emails, and then some drip campaigns.
What I love about what you just said too is it sounds like you were really approaching those business owners and new connections authentically and with transparency. Like you didn't come in and try to be the hot shot that knew everything. It sounds like you approached them pretty humbly, just saying, hey, I'm new to the industry and I just want to show you that I'm out here working and trying to earn my way into your world.
Yeah, I was 100% the guy, and because I got this from my dad. He's been in sales my whole life, and he always told me, you got to be the first guy in the office, the last guy to leave, and my mindset has completely shifted from that today. I think it's more about being intentional with your time, and the whole idea of like all work will expand to fill the time allowed. So now there's other things that I do, but at the time I was just hungry, right? I was out there and I was just talking to people, and most people I was having conversations about real estate with what I would say, and people can use this, 'cause I think it works really good, is I would just basically say, at some point in your life, when you were starting out in your career, sir or ma'am, I'm sure somebody took a chance on you, right? And I'm that guy. I'm willing to work harder than anybody else to make sure that you can put all your trust and confidence in me to get the job done. If I don't know anything, I'm going to go find the answer and get back to you. But I know someone's giving you a chance. I'm just asking for you to give me one. And I would just use that, rinse and repeat that over and over. And then people started giving me chances.
So that's a really good segue into the idea of habits and routines and systems, even in our life. And you mentioned Atomic Habits a second ago. Talk to us a little bit about that book and about how you approach habits in your business and in your life in general.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, again, the turning point was linking up with a mentor, like a specific mentor and a bunch of other people, more distant mentors. And then it was really the adoption of a morning routine. And I think that's the easiest thing for me to kind of hone in on, because that's what a lot of people know me as, is kind of a personal development guy that happens to sell real estate. But I honestly, I read Miracle Morning. This was like maybe 2 years or something into my career, and by Hal Elrod, another incredible book. And
Hal, if you're listening to this, I still want you on the podcast.
I might be able to help you out there. But I have a few, not me personally, but I have a few connections that are pretty close with Hal. So
love it.
Might be able to make that work. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I think, it's about bookending your day. I think there's a lot of things with habits we can talk about, but making sure you're in control of your morning and then your evening. So I learned from the godfather of personal development, Jim Rohn, that you can't start your day until the day is finished. So what does that?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Right. So you can start the day without having it finished, but really what he meant by that is you don't want to start the day without having clarity around what the next day looks like. So for me, that was writing out my calendar, writing out a list of things that I wanted to do, things that I wanted to tackle, and then waking up, like knowing that these are the things that are already there. I don't have to wake up and start making decisions. I can just go into this routine. I can go into these habits, right? And that day always started with now I do about 4 hours of a miracle morning, which sounds crazy. But at the time it was about an hour and a half. And I was doing the SAVERS acronym, right? So silence, affirmations, meditation, visualization, exercise, meditation, and then essentially journaling. And then that would just, that would basically put on my armor for the day. So then once I did all that and took care of myself, I knew I was able to go out there and take care of others, right? So
what time do you wake up in the morning?
Nowadays, and I'll be honest, during this Q-teen, it's shifted a little bit. And in this stage of my career, it's a little bit different, but it was about 5 a.m. at the time.
Okay.
Today I do the same thing, but I'm also training for an Ironman right now. So I have long workouts, about 2-hour workouts, which is half of that time. But that happens pretty much every morning around 5 a.m. I start, and then I start my day at like 9.
How does that working out and getting your heart rate going and your sweat on in the morning, how does that help you or change the way that you feel when you get to work at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning?
I think it's, I love we're all KW guys, right? Like, I think clarity is power is one of the most powerful thoughts and concepts, right? And in that time, I love the analogy of the fact that you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help anyone else, right? So if you're in a plane, the oxygen mask drop, you got to put yours on first before you can go and service others. So I say, how can you show up 200% to the world? You do that by making sure that you're showing up 200% to yourself first. And that just gives me a clear head. It gives me time to cut through all the BS. And then once I'm into that day, not only is my mood elevated, but the hardest part of the day, which now is actually the part that I enjoy the most, but it's out of the way. And I know that anything from that point forward, I've already taken care of the most important thing, which is myself, my mind, and my body. So if I can do that first thing, then I'm willing to be more free and more of an unbiased, rounded opinion when I show up and support all of my clients.
So what do you say? Because I hear the cynics right now saying 4 hours. I do not have 4 hours to devote to some routine like that. Yeah, what do you tell someone?
It doesn't have to be 4 hours. It's as long as you want it to be, and it doesn't have to be SAVERS acronym. It could be just you have your 1 or 2 things. Maybe it's you wake up in the morning, jump in a quick shower, pour a cup of coffee, go on a 10-minute walk around the block, start your day. you have to figure out what works for you. Maybe it's go on, do that similar thing, sit down with your family for breakfast, and then go to the office while listening to an audiobook on the way to the office. Like whatever it is, I think you gotta decide, right? You have to go all in on it, and you may modify it over time. You might realize that, okay, well, this is not working for me, or maybe I'm doing this a little too long, or maybe I want to do that at the end of the day, not the beginning, because I've become very, very aware to, we always talk about return on investment, but for me these days, it's more about return on time, but most importantly, it's about my return on my energy. So what are the things that are going to give me energy? And maybe it's 5 minutes of each of those things, and you're in and out in 30 minutes, right? You have to adopt it to your schedule. But I'm a single guy. I don't have a wife and kids. I have my family that lives in another state. So I'm willing to go and spend that time. And that's the other part of that I'm super passionate about. I love health and fitness and personal development. So I just know that that's going to compound over time to be more effective than not doing it.
I really like that idea of return on energy. And I've been thinking about this a little bit in terms of morning routine. I love that you do Savers. We actually, when COVID hit, I took the Savers acronym and we started running brokerage-wide 6:30 a.m. Miracle Morning calls, and bringing my agents through that, because I knew of first importance when COVID hit was that we stay in emotional and mental health. Like that was, and I believe in the Savers method. Again, running through it: silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing, as Hal says. And so we just took that and we did a 30-minute, 6:30 to 7 a.m. And for any of the listeners out there, I think you take a routine like that and modify it to what works for you. But I know that all three of us believe that the way that you start your day is of utmost importance. And what I've been thinking about lately is there's also this idea that the best do the basics best, right? Yeah. Or that the millions are in the mundane. Or use whatever kitschy phrase, but basically what we're saying is it boils down to the fundamentals, and success usually is about doing what's boring better than everyone else.
Well, success is simple, not easy, right?
Exactly. And so what I've been thinking about is when you adopt a consistent morning routine, no matter how long that is or whatever, the point is that it's consistently boring. And it actually, you're developing a muscle both in your mind and in your body to get ready for those boring things that you're going to have to do to be successful in business. Yeah. And I think, I don't think that, I believe there's a correlation there. That's what I'm getting at, is I think there's a correlation to the boring routine of the morning and the boring routine of your business.
Yeah. And it goes both ways. Like I said, it's extrapolated against everything you do in every goal category of your life, right? So in your finances, it's as simple as just check your bank accounts every day, right? Because if you do it every day, you don't got to do a 3-month download and spend 3 hours looking at it. If it's your meditation, just 5 minutes of just taking your phone, putting it to the side, maybe it's just 5 deep breaths. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be this huge thing. And I'll be honest, in the beginning, I wanted it to be specific, like super intense and all over the place. And I really, in the last 2 years, I've really come around, and I joined KW in mid August of 2017.
Okay.
My world and the way I go about things has completely shifted ever since then. And now it's more about simplicity, right? But before it was how can I cram all this in? Because people tell me I should do this.
Yeah. So, okay. So bring it. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was just gonna take your example and really go one level even deeper with it, because I think what you said is so true. There's a direct correlation between our personal routines and our work routines. And for me, for example, on the Savers acronym, I choose to do my exercise in the morning. And I'm a believer that it's so important to me, not only physically and for my body to feel the energy, but mentally, when I can push through the pain and when I want to give up, but I keep going, it's reinforcing the same muscles in my brain that you're referring to, where if I can push through this workout and give it 100%, and then what do I feel at the end of that workout? I feel proud of myself. I feel energetic. I'm happy. I'm excited. And then I go into the day, and then when I find another one of those boring routines that I may not be super excited about, if I push through it and if I persevere, I get that same reward, that same hit of dopamine when I've completed the task, because now it's something that I've done and I'm happy with myself about. So I think that you bring up a really good point about there's a direct correlation.
Really quickly.
Yeah.
You know, it's, I don't know if you guys have ever heard, it's like the general in the army about making your bed, right? Wake up in the morning, make your bed. That's a small win, but that starts this chain reaction. And like you said, then you seek out what's the next thing, what's the next small win that I can do that's going to give me that dopamine hit, what's going to make me feel good. Because if you can stack up 5 or 10 small wins before you ever even step foot into the office, that first call seems so much easier, right? So I think that is just paramount to everything. And today, I've gotten very aware to when I feel that sense of, oh no, this is fear, you know, the fear of it, which I love the acronym, false evidence appearing real. I know that is the exact way that I have to go. So an example, I started taking cold showers. You know, I get in and I start it warm, and there's always that last 3 minutes at the end that I want to do a cold shower, and I'm like, I don't want to do this today. As soon as my mind tells me I don't want to do that, I turn it cold. You know, I don't give myself this chance to run from it. And I've done that with everything in my career. And that's what I mean by putting myself in uncomfortable situations. I think that is the fastest way towards growth. And then ultimately growth is the key indicator of, you know, how successful you're going to be.
You're talking to two really thin-blooded Phoenicians now. If we were talking 6 months ago, we're from Maine and we understood that whole cold concept. Now I don't think we can do the cold shower thing.
Right out, game changer.
So we've talked about 14 tough months. Really focusing on your database has yielded massive returns. You brought us into this conversation involving habits, and we have some really good stuff there. Talk to me about, bring me up to today, and what do you see in your business for the future? Like, where are you pushing the chips in, and what are you seeing? Right, we're recording this on the back end or in the middle of, or whatever you want to say, of this pandemic. Where are you focusing your business on in the future?
Yeah. Well, today I'm a solo agent. Last year I started building a team. I hired an executive assistant, and I actually then hired an ISA. Because I realized that I'm getting a lot of leads coming through my database and from referral and past clients, and I'm not so good on the phone. So how can I find someone to supplement my weaknesses with his strengths? And from that point moving forward, I'm actually super blessed and grateful for the fact that going into COVID, I did not have such the payroll that I had last year. And I figured out that leverage, we talk a lot about leverage at KW, which equates to, a lot of people think it's just people, but leverage can come through people, systems, processes. And now I'm starting to learn, and I have a coach that's helping me understand that there's a lot of inefficiencies in my day. So in 2020, I've been really focused on what does my perfect day look like? What does my perfect calendar look like? Because maybe I don't need to just go hire that person when I can just find a better way to be more efficient. So where I'm going with all this is I'm basically stripping everything back, finances, all the fluff in my calendar, to really figure out what are the things that are going to move the needle. And so I look at 2020 as really a kind of cutting back and building a new foundation on top of the 6 years of the foundation I've already built, to then go into 2021 a lot leaner. So by the beginning of 2021, I plan to, I've stabilized my expenses at this point. I know exactly how much money I spend in my business and in my personal life. And then going into 2021, now I can lead with revenue. Last year I jumped the gun a little bit and did not do that. And I put myself in some debt, right? So I've also been hyper-focused on my financial situation. So moving forward, the future of Pyle Residential, which is, what my brand is to find a rock star administrative assistant that can help me with a lot of the paperwork. I'm not good at it. I'm good being belly to belly. That is where I need to spend my time. I need to be out in front of people as much as we can in our current environment, even over Zooms. And then I've just really started attracting through some of my involvements, right? I'm very passionate about young professional networks. So I'm the current chair of our local Chicago Association of Realtors Young Professional Network. And I'm also the president and founder of our Keller Williams Young Professional Chapter. So those are my, that's my tribe, that's my growth environment. So through that, I've kind of attracted a lot of people that want to be a part of my environment and my culture, because I think they see that I'm growing a little bit every single day, and they want to come along and reach those their own independent goals. So next year, to sum it all up, adding an assistant and then probably 1 or 2 agents to help me where, some of the areas or price points that maybe they are better off serving. That will allow me to be in front of more people and start bringing more leads into the top.
Jordan, tell us a little bit more about the young professionals. For anybody that's listening that isn't familiar with what that is or how it works, just describe a little bit about it and the benefit you've seen for yourself and for your business, and the benefit you've seen in other agents.
Yeah, well, there's two different ones I just referenced there, but in general, I think the Young Professional Network, or any Young Professional Network, is what I preach all the time as the chair of our local YPN. It's we have three pillars. We have our education, collaboration, and camaraderie. I think any agent in this business should want and should seek that, and ultimately needs that to be able to thrive, right? So our series is called Thrive, and I think that is ultimately a group of like-minded individuals who are all pursuing their own form of what I like to say a big business, but most importantly, a massive life. So a massive life for me is, you want to build a big business, you want to make a lot of money, but I also love the analogy about how if business and finances are, this is a Gary Keller thing, a glass ball, and your relationships, your personal life, your mindset, all that are rubber balls, or sorry, business and money are rubber balls and the other are glass.
We got it.
If you drop the business, or if you drop the business and the money, it'll bounce back up. The other ones you can't. So I think that this is just a community of people that are supporting each other on their own journey towards success.
That's super good, and that's why even on this show we really want to highlight how you can really go in on both of those things. And I love that you're creating that type of environment. The YPN is through NAR, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, awesome, very cool.
The piece there that, from a business building standpoint, which we kind of talked about just in our little pre-call. Today, and this was not the desired outcome that I started with going into this. But now today, a third of my business, so last year, 25, maybe 8 transactions. This year, I'll do about 40 to 50 transactions for 12 to 15 million in production. And a third of that is agent to agent referrals. So through being the chair of my local YPN, I have the opportunity to go to different events and conferences. And that's one thing. If you're going to get involved with something, it's about how you play. You got to play all in, or you got to play all out, right? So go to these things. Don't just sit in the background and wish that you weren't there. Go and network. Go and meet people. Stick your tongue out, or whatever you want to say. Stick yourself out there and make sure that you're establishing these relationships. And now it's so cool today that I can literally, whether I am receiving referrals from any city or state around the country, or if anybody that I know needs a solid referral source anywhere around the country, I have a person. Like Kelly Henderson, I think she's in your market. She is somebody that, I know is also super involved, and we've had a lot of conversations about this, but it is an untapped source of leads that I don't think enough people take advantage of.
Mm. Well, then let's just dive in just for a couple minutes then on that. I mean, you're in Chicago, so I think what a lot of times happens with networks like this, at least in my mind sometimes, the first thought is, well, this already exists. Like, how do I become the chair of a chapter in a major metropolitan area? Like, what does that actually look like tactically?
I love that question, because I wouldn't be in any of these positions without a mentor of mine named Tommy Choi. Last year, he was our Chicago Association of Realtors president. Currently, he's our National Association of Realtors YPN chair. And he was like, dude, you're building a big business. This was maybe 3 years ago. You're on the right track here, but you're missing this involvement component, right? Like you're doing all this stuff, but who are you bringing with you, or who are you helping bring up through all this? So he was the one that was like, hey, go join the local YPN. And then once I got there, it was more the first year, I'll just be completely honest. Like I was like, all right, I'm here, I'm surrounded by other top producers, and our network breeds the top producers today were the YPN people from 10 years ago, right? So I saw that and I was like, well, if they're the ones that are now here and they started here, then I should probably take this a little bit more seriously. So actually after the first year, I started really voicing my opinion, not being afraid to stand up for some of my thoughts and my ideas, and being innovative and communicative. And then I was actually asked and selected to be the vice chair after my first year on the board. And then that naturally progresses into chair. And then I'll be returning this year in 2021 as the immediate past chair. So I think, you just got to show up. You got to be somebody that people remember. You just don't want to be another person that's on the board. I think if you're going to get involved, there's a difference between being involved and being a leader in your involvements.
And that's something David and I have talked about in the past. We'll go to a Keller Williams event, and to nobody's surprise, you look around, and the people that are going to those events are the ones that are performing at the highest levels. And it's like there's a clear correlation between the people that are plugged in, engaged, networking, seeking higher opportunity, seeking higher education. There's direct correlation between those people and the ones that are making the money and closing the deals. And then you have the people on the other end of the spectrum, right, that never go to anything, you never hear from, and they're not closing any business. And so it's like, where do you want to be? Like, which side of the spectrum do you want to be on? And if you want to be a high producer, then do what the high producers do.
Yeah, I think it's positioning. And I think everything I've done in my life, it's not like I just started here and then been here. It's like I've gotten to a certain point, realized that whatever those tools or resources or people around me at that point in time, maybe they're not the people that need to take me to that next step. So continuously being hungry, learning based, out there networking. I want to give an analogy that I think is inspirational to people. And it's what I thought about when I first got into this business. And I was, I'm in Chicago, right? It's a beautiful city, most beautiful skyline in the world. And I looked at, when I'm sitting here with no business, I looked at all these opportunities and started to have this abundance mindset. I was basically told myself, I was like, hey, any single one of these lights on at night in this city that I can see is an opportunity for me to go get somebody's business. So what other real estate or what other career outside of real estate can literally any single person walking up and down the street be either a client or a referral to somebody else? Like if you start thinking of this abundance mindset, naturally everything's just going to gravitate to you over time.
That's a great perspective.
Love that. Absolutely love it. Well, hey, Jordan, this is awesome. Thank you for taking us through your story. And I want to launch into the last segment of our show, which we bring every guest through. This is 3, 2, 1 action, 3 rapid fire questions coming at you that we ask every guest. So, Joe, you want to kick us off with question number 1?
Question number 1, Jordan, who is the one person, pick one person who has had the most substantial impact on your business and why?
I just referenced him, Tommy Choi. He has taught me that growth ultimately comes through gratitude, and that the more you can immerse yourself in everything that you do and show up 200%, it's just naturally going to take hold, and the universe is going to conspire behind that.
Pick up on that. Growth comes through gratitude. That's like my phrase of the day there. That's amazing. Growth comes from gratitude. Love it. Question number 2. What is the single most impactful book that you've read or maybe are reading on your business?
Oh, there's so many. I'm a huge reader. I'm gonna shout out Atomic Habits again, but I also want to say that Think and Grow Rich was one of the first books I ever read, which really implemented that one thing in my brain that will never leave, which is that what you think about all day long is ultimately who you become.
Love that. Good. You're awfully insightful and wise for just this young guy, this 29-year-old guy.
You just said that like a very elderly 30-year-old.
I went all in on learning myself and learning how I show up in the world and being aware. And it's the one thing that I just continue to focus on because I know it pays dividends.
And that truly is what it's about, is the awareness of what do I want, where am I today, and how am I going to get there, and being very intentional about it. Okay, so which is a perfect segue, Jordan, into the third and final question of this portion of the show, which is, this is the All In Podcast, and we want to empower all of our listeners to go out there and take immediate, massive action right now, today, without thinking, without negotiating with themselves. What's the one bit of information? What's the one thing you would tell your listeners to go do today to move the needle in their business?
I'm going to go back to morning routine. Implement a morning routine. And I know it's not a direct correlation, but implementing that morning routine will allow you to then show up in your business the way that you need to move the business forward.
Yeah. And I like what you said earlier about bookending your day, which obviously starts with that morning routine and whatever that needs to look like. And a portion of that morning routine or the miracle morning can actually come at the backside of your day as well. Right? The journaling and the reading, you may prefer to do that in the evening. So it's kind of a combination of that morning routine and then bookend it with whatever your evening routine needs to look like to set you up for the next day.
It's important to reflect on the day and to figure out what you could have done better, what you did well, because it comes back to gratitude, right? Like, what can I be grateful for, even if you had the worst day ever? There's always the knowing that the next day is a new opportunity.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining us from the Windy City up there in Chicago. Come visit us sometime in Phoenix. We'd love to have you down here. This has been insightful, and I know our listeners are going to gain massive value from this. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you and all your content?
I think the best place to find me, go to my Facebook. Jordan, it's just Jordan Pyle. Or you can go to @jordan.pyle on Instagram. Everything that you need will be there. I have a Linktree account. You can find everything there.
Awesome. We'll link that up in the show notes for our listeners. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us for another episode of the All In Podcast. I want you to go out and play All In. And if you haven't yet subscribed, smash that subscribe button on your favorite podcast player. Leave us a rating and review. It's how we grow and are able to bring you more episodes and interviews like Jordan. Follow Joe on Instagram @joe.quattrucci. Don't ask me to spell it. Or follow me @David D. Morse on Instagram. That's where you can find more of our stuff. Guys, go play All In.
Boom.
That's a wrap.
Dude, thank you guys. That was awesome.
Another fantastic
that was
episode.
a lot of fun. Thanks so much. So your episode will release in a few weeks, and we will get it out to you. All the links to every single podcast player. If you could send me a headshot that you're cool with us using, we'll have some marketing collateral with that. We'll send that. We'll send a couple video clips as well that we make up. We find that if you blast that out to your network, that's the best way to get the most exposure. And this has been a lot of fun, man. Come visit us in Phoenix sometime.
I'm super grateful for you guys. If I can help you in any way, if you need any other podcast recommendations, I'd be happy to help any way I can.
Love it. I really appreciate it.
I really meant what I said there at the end. You're obviously wise beyond your years. I think Dave and I kind of both put ourselves in that same boat where we've always been a little bit more mature and ahead of maybe a lot of the people we're around. I just genuinely really love meeting guys like you that are focused on your career, that are making it a priority. You're definitely the kind of person that I want to stay in touch with and kind of keep in as, part of my core group of people that actually, communicate and understand why we're doing what we're doing. So I'd love to stay in touch with you. And if there's anything that David or I could do for you or for your business, please don't hesitate. I definitely, see us keeping this relationship, together somehow.
Definitely. Everything you just said. Opportunity will find us all. Let's stay connected. I got to run. Someone's been tapping at my door. So I'll talk to you guys later on. Safe flight. Right. Goodbye, horsies.
All right. See you guys.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the All In Podcast. We want to invite you to find all of today's resources from our show page at aipodcast.co. We also ask that you take just 1 minute to leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. This is how we grow and how we're able to bring you the best content each and every week. Now go play All In.